From the Russ Center for Media in downtown Cape Girardeau, welcome to Focus on Southeast, a program on issues, events, and people impacting Southeast Missouri State University. I'm Dan Woods with KRCU Public Radio. Later on today's show, we will talk passwords, email phishing, and offer some tips on how to stay safe online with SEMO's Information Security Officer, Bill Green. But first, Dr. Barbara Lamont is here. She is Associate Professor of Music and Director of Choirs at SEMO. Dr. Lamont directs all choral ensembles and teaches choral music education classes here and conducting at the university. Very busy, too.
I am.
So we're glad you took time to be with us today.
I'm glad to be
Thanks
here.
For
Thank
being
you.
Here. So if you would start out by telling us about your background.
Okay, so I am from Ohio, from Northern Ohio, and I started taking piano lessons and singing at a very young age, and eventually decided that this was what I wanted to do for my career. So I have an undergraduate degree from Capital University in Columbus, Ohio. I taught 6th grade through 12th grade choir and general music in a small sort of semi-rural school district between Columbus and Dayton, and then I went back to grad school for 5 years. I got my master's degree from Michigan State University and my doctorate from Texas Tech University, and halfway through my last year at Texas Tech, I got the job here at SEMO. So I went down before Christmas. I actually got the phone call on my way home for Christmas break.
Wow. That's Christmas present.
Yeah, it was a great Christmas present for sure.
Yeah.
Then they brought me back here for auditions at the end of the spring semester in May of 2016, and then I started in the fall of 2016. So this is my 9th year here at SEMO.
9 years?
I know.
Gone by fast, hasn't it?
It has gone really fast.
So did you always know you wanted to be involved in music in some way, shape, or form?
Well, let me tell you, it's always been something that I have loved. There was a brief period of time where I thought, as many people who get good grades do, that I should probably be a doctor or something. Now, joke's on everybody, I am a doctor, but just not a medical doctor, that's all. So I actually did change high schools because I thought I was going to go into the medical field, and so I went to a high school that had more accelerated math and science programs. But then in that high school setting, I actually got a chance to be up in front of the class a lot, actually. When the teacher was gone, I would help with sectionals, I played the piano for the class, and I thought, this is actually, I think, what I really want to be doing. So I'm very grateful for that switch that happened in my life, and then it's been music ever since.
That's really good.
Yeah.
So tell us about the different choral ensembles and the work you do here at SEMO.
Sure. So we have 3 choral ensembles here at SEMO. We have the University Choir, which is sort of our flagship ensemble. Okay. That's the ensemble that all of the voice majors sing in. And also we have other folks from different areas of the university who also sing in that choir. It's an auditioned ensemble. Okay. They sing the hardest music, they rehearse the most, and there's the most responsibility outside of class to learn things like foreign languages and that sort of thing. So I give all the information in class, and then they are expected to practice outside of class. So that is an audition group. The chamber choir is the second group that we have. That is also an auditioned ensemble. That is mostly comprised of folks who also sing in the university choir, but then we have folks such as a lot of musical theater folks are in that choir because they have a class conflict with university choir. So musical theater folks are usually people who were choir kids in high school, and so they want to keep singing in a choir, and chamber choir fits in their schedule a little bit better. So that's an auditioned ensemble. They sing with the university choir on choir concerts in both semesters. In the fall semester, we also sing at the St. Genevieve Holiday Christmas Festival every year. And then alternating semesters, we either sing on a spring choir concert later in the semester, or as in this semester, we're actually going to do a couple of runouts to some nursing homes and other community care centers. Nice. So that's a nice small group to be able to do that. And then our last group is the Choral Union. That is a group that is students as well as community members. So students can take that for a grade, but it is a non-auditioned ensemble, so they can just register for that ensemble. And then we just have community members who are involved. Some of them have been involved since they were here at SEMO as alumni before they graduated, and some have just stuck with it. Some have made friends, and the friends have brought them to the rehearsal. Some people just are searching for choirs when they move in from other places. So they go to our website and they find out that there's a community choir, and they send me an email, and we hook them up. So that choir sings with the orchestra every semester. So there's usually 1 concert, sometimes 2. Like, next spring we'll have 2 concerts, but generally they're doing the orchestra concerts with the university choir.
And for folks, community folks would want to join.
Yes.
What do they need to do? How can they get involved?
That's really easy. All you need to do is send me an email. My email address is blamont, Lamont, at SEMO.edu.
Okay.
And you can just send me an email and say, hey, I'm interested, please put me on your email list. And then I send emails in August and in January inviting folks to come, telling them what we'll be singing and when the concerts are to make sure people don't have conflicts.
Yeah.
It rehearses on Monday evenings from 7 to 9, so it's only 1 day a week, a commitment, and community folks have things come up in their lives, so you're not getting a grade. I ask that people come as much as possible, and they really are pretty responsible and loyal to the group. So, but anybody who is in the community who would be interested, please do send me an email. We'd love to have people come out.
That's great. So when you're doing your work, how do you inspire your choir members? How do you motivate them to be their best? What tactics do you use?
Well, it's interesting. I think that a lot of kids come into college wanting, especially folks who are music majors, they come in and they're not really sure what that entails sometimes.
Yeah.
And so I think it is a really important thing in general in the music department that all of us are currently working in the musical field. Nobody is just a teacher here at SEMO, which is an awesome job, but everybody has outside things that they do as well. So for me, showing them that this is kind of a lifelong thing, that this is something that we are really concerned with our SEMO music majors, especially being the best musicians they possibly can, as well as the educators being the best teachers they can. I'm constantly just giving them things to improve in rehearsals, but also giving them positive reinforcement, because sometimes when we don't do that, people get beat down, and especially since COVID happened, everybody has had a little bit more sensitivity to that, so I've tried to be sensitive to that as well and make sure folks know when they're doing a good job, but also always giving them one more step farther for them to reach for. So yes, that was fine. Now we're going to take a video of it. We're going to see what we can do better. Maybe with facial expression, we can talk about vowels. We'll have people come up in front of the choir and listen, give suggestions on things. So I'm always wanting them to be engaged in their own learning process. And I always am asking them, what do we think we need to do? Let's get hands. What do we think needs to happen in that phrase? So that they're not only just spitting back what I have given them, but they're also critically thinking about it too. So I think that helps up the level of everybody.
You know, getting up and talking in front of a group, making a speech is one thing. I've always thought singing, you're even putting more of yourself out there, which can be scary.
Yes, very much so.
How do you, I mean, is it just a matter of just doing it and positive reinforcement? I mean,
I think so. I mean, I would say, and I said this to my choir probably right before spring break, I said, you know, I get up in front of big choirs all the time. I get up in front of audiences and talk. I play the piano all the time. But getting up to sing a solo, you could probably hear my heartbeat in the back of the auditorium. And it's just something that for some folks is just really scary, and it doesn't really go away. But we can use tools. We talk a lot about, in the voice department, we do a lot of master classes where the kids are singing in front of their peers, which actually can be even more scary. So we're constantly talking about breathing techniques and how we can sort of get ourselves centered beforehand to make sure that we are trying to remember the things that we've learned in voice lessons and stuff like that. I think choral singing, people have a lot less nerves about because they do feel like there's that camaraderie. But we always have people sing solos as well, and there's always a little bit of the nervous factor going on. But we also have, right off the bat in the beginning of the year, we all sing in front of each other. Not very much, but I do what we call voicing the choir. So everybody has to sing a little bit of My Country 'Tis of Thee, because we're seeing whose voices match. And so everybody gets to hear everybody right off the bat. And so I think that kind of makes people feel a little bit more comfortable, because they know what their neighbor's voice sounds like. So they know who's around them, they know what they're listening for. And then I think that gives people a little bit more impetus to just be able to be free with their voices.
Yeah, I think I would probably be a nervous wreck. I was going to have to sing.
It's hard.
So what do you love most about your job?
Oh, the people, for sure. we just have wonderful students here, and I just love the faculty that I get to work with. They're just wonderful people, and some of them I've been with since I started here. A few of them have come up in the last couple of years. Everybody's just really supportive of everybody, and I feel like at SEMO, our music department is just really close. I think that the choir really prides itself on being a community. And we say this a lot, like, you don't have to be best friends with everybody, but everybody respects everyone else in the room. And we have a time on Fridays that we call Care and Share, where we just take a little bit of the time at the beginning of rehearsal to just check in. Talk to somebody who you haven't checked in with in a while. Maybe there's somebody who's across the room who you haven't said anything to in a couple of weeks. Maybe just check in. And we try to keep, religion and politics out of it, but I just want to make sure that everybody feels like they're cared for. And I think that was actually something that actually really factored into where I decided to go to undergrad, because I auditioned at 4 different places. 2 of the places did not end up, I got in, but I did not want to go. And then the other 2 that I was deciding between, the place where I ended up going, I really felt like they cared that I was there. And that's what I really hope that we help people to feel in the music department. We care that you're here. We want to support you as much as possible, and we're going to give you the tools to succeed. And I think that's really palpable, and that's really what I love about SEMO. I also love the fact that we get to sing with the orchestra every semester, and I get to wave my stick in front of the orchestra too, so that's always fun.
That's always fun too. So talk about recruitment. Are you involved in recruiting?
I am involved in recruiting.
Talk a little bit about that.
So I do a lot of group recruiting. So I go out to schools a lot, especially in the spring semester. High school teachers, or sometimes middle school teachers, just because they're getting ready for a contest or for a concert, they'll ask me to come out and spend the one class period with them, just to check in. And a lot of times teachers, people kind of get, how people talk about being nose blind. You don't realize there's a smell going on because you've been smelling it. People get that way with teachers too. Sometimes the teachers say the same thing over and over, and it's kind of to the kids. And so I can come in and say the exact same thing, and they're like, amazing, I've never heard that. The teacher's in the corner going, yeah, we've said that before. But sometimes just to have somebody else to do that. So I like to get into classrooms, and I like to give them a shot of energy and just be a fresh face in front of them. And then we actually have some really exciting things that we're doing in the music department for recruiting. We have a program called Music Window, where we have a QR code that puts it really easy for kids to be in contact with our department. It's a text-based system. So they scan a QR code, fill out a brief survey, and we can get them hooked up with the professor they need to talk to, or with the list that they need to be on to make sure that they get in the ensembles and get the auditions going that they need to. So we have we've done a lot of work. Dr. Nick Henney has done a ton of work in the last couple of years to work really hard to get our recruiting kind of streamlined. And it's been really good. So recruiting is cool.
Before we run out of time, I noted that so talk about the connection between yoga and choral singing. Talk about that a little bit. Yes. So I am a 200-hour registered yoga teacher, and I'm actually currently in the middle of a 300-hour extended teaching program. So it's, for me, a lot of really good singing comes from a body that is connected and having a mind and body connection. So if you see singers who don't have a lot of life in their body, you will notice that they don't sound as good as singers who are connected. So we do a lot of things with alignment, with motion, with getting energy in the body to make sure that our instrument, which is actually the whole body, is really in good shape and ready to go to be our best singer. It's really cool. We're out of time. It's been so good to talk with you.
Great
Thanks so
to
much.
talk with you.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you very much, Dan. I appreciate it.
Okay, when we come back, we'll be joined by SEMO's Information Security Officer, Bill Green. You're watching Focus on Southeast. We'll be right back.
Losing the fear of looking foolish comes with age.
Who did you steal him from?
Losing your way in your own home doesn't. Confusion with time and place may be a sign of Alzheimer's.
Mom, are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine.
Early detection gives you and your loved one time to plan for the future. Learn the warning signs of Alzheimer's. Losing the fear of looking foolish comes with age.
Those moves, who did you steal them from?
Losing your way in your own home doesn't. Confusion with time and place may be a sign of
Mom,
Alzheimer's.
are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine.
Early detection gives you and your loved one time to plan for the future. Learn the warning signs of Alzheimer's.
Welcome back to Focus on Southeast. We are constantly bombarded with emails, texts, and phone calls from bad actors. They're trying to steal our identity, our banking information, or passwords. Bill Green is SEMO's Information Security Officer, and his job is to try to keep SEMO's campus safe from cyber threats. Bill, good to see you.
Thanks for having me.
So let's start off with a little bit about your background first before we get into specifics on cybersecurity.
Sure. Well, I was going to be a history teacher. That didn't work out. And so ended up, when I realized archaeology wasn't for me, I got into IT, and it's just been an amazing ride since then. And then just because of some stuff that happened when I was out in California, the security bug bit me.
Yeah.
And once the security bug gets you, it doesn't let go.
Yeah, and your job, it's different. Every day's a new day, really. There's
is.
always a new threat,
Yep.
right?
Never a dull moment.
So what's a typical day like for you? How do you start your day typically?
Typically, you hit. It sounds like messing around, but you get on social media.
First thing.
Because over, while you're sleeping, things are happening in Asia and Europe, and by the time you wake up, you can find out, this happened. Certain cyber attacks, and you can time. They're making their way, over, and so that gives you a chance to sort of prepare for whatever we might experience on campus. And then when I get to work, it's you look at log files, and then it's your standard check emails, tickets that we get, and we have to close those and things like that.
So you're kind of watching for any new threats, and there's something new all the time. And these bad actors, as you call them, they're always tweaking their texts, their emails, just to make it a little different to try to get us, right?
They really are, and unfortunately, and I know AI gets mentioned a lot because it's the buzzword,
Yeah.
but the problem is it really is changing things. For instance, if someone writes a blog that also happens to be a chief financial officer, they can collect enough of that information, run it through AI, and then craft an email that's going to sound very much like how that CFO would write something. So when you get it, you go like, well, this sounds like what he or she would write, and then just malware. You can literally, ChatGPT won't ordinarily let you do this, but you can manipulate the prompts where if you say, I would like a PowerShell script that does this, this, and this, that's something malicious. Eventually you'll be able to get them to give you that code. So it's always, that is a tool that has really sort of been a game changer in terms of what you have to be looking for all the time.
Is that what worries you more than anything else, is the AI and what it can do?
AI, and then we're seeing an increase in quantum computing. Microsoft just for like the last 4 weeks made a real breakthrough in reducing the size of the chips and just the hardware that is required for quantum computing. And I do kind of fear that there's going to be that moment when the two intersect, and it can keep you up at night a little bit.
Yeah. Is every day pretty much the same as far as what you're looking at, or is that going to change depending on what kind of threats might present themselves?
That's going to change quite a bit depending on what the threats are. And it gets even worse in, going back to the AI is even videos. So now if someone sends you a link via social media and you think it's a video of them asking for something, well, we now know that with enough video information, AI can create what they call deep fakes. Mm-hmm. That's a concern. We don't. Now I have to admit that's not something we've seen at Southeast yet, but I'm always trying to think. What this time next year, what do I have to be concerned about in trying to keep the university safe?
One of the things you told me that just kind of hit me was everybody's been breached. Mm-hmm. Talk about that a little.
Sure. I mean, everyone's either been breached or they're going to be breached, or they're breached right now and they don't know it. And the reason for that is you can have. A lot of the threats that we see out there aren't just some kid sitting in his mom's basement. It's countries. So the North Koreans have what they call the Lazarus Group. There's different, they go by Panda this or Salt Typhoon. Those are Chinese-based actors. And the governments are paying for those threat actors. So that means they have hundreds of people potentially that all they do is try to find bugs in systems so that they can exploit. And so the problem is when you have endless supply of folks who can do things and an endless supply of money for them to do that, eventually they're going to find a way around that door. It's just a numbers game at that point.
So your job is to protect SEMO's campus, so all of the faculty and staff and everybody students who are here. That has to be a challenge for you because you could put all kinds of safeguards in place, but ultimately the users, if we do something wrong or click on something we shouldn't, it presents an issue.
It does, and we try to mediate that as much as we can with different tools. We try to have antivirus on systems. We recently rolled out the admin by request. But yeah, it's if someone hit it finals week, midterms, commencement, anytime that people are really busy and they've got 100 other things they're thinking about, it's like the threat actors. And the threat actors are targeting universities, they kind of know the cadence of the school year. So like, oh, this is a great time to, throw out this email because we know everyone's going to be, worrying about their finals. And when that email hits and you have a student who's probably sleep deprived because they've been studying for finals,
right.
And have a lot of other things on their mind, and this email comes in and says, a payment declined, or, you need to resolve this issue right now. Well, logically speaking, you think, well, I need to resolve this issue right now. And the threat actors know that.
I received an email, I told you before we went on the air, I received an email this morning that said my OneDrive was going to be deleted, which is what we use here at SEMO. It hadn't been used for 2 years. Well, I knew, I just used it that morning, so I deleted it right away. But these things look legitimate. That's what's so scary about them.
Exactly. It's the tools are out there to make things look. I've gotten things that even I go, hold on, Bill. Take a second. What is this really? And you have to. There might be a link in there that doesn't look quite right, and there are tools out there that will help you kind of determine whether that link is malicious or not. But I feel bad because most folks shouldn't have to do that. You're trying to, whether you're at home, trying to deal with, messages you're getting, or you're, at work. So I don't really talk about that so much. I do ask folks when they get a message that they don't think is quite right, go ahead and send it to me, or send it to the help desk, and they'll forward it along to me. Because I would rather, during the course of the day, I probably look at 20 or 25 different emails that people have sent me to let them know whether, sometimes it's even a guess. Even after I do some of the research, I have to go, well, this seems legitimate, but ultimately what you have to tell folks, purchase orders, invoices are, you'll get an email that says, you're past due on this.
Get those,
And I also say, I will have to tell them, this looks legitimate, but is this a vendor you've worked with before? And if so, maybe call them. That's the surest way is if you get a message from a friend that's got an attachment that you weren't expecting, just call them. Just say, hey, is this from you? It's an extra step that folks really shouldn't have to take if the bad guys were using their powers for good, but
they don't.
They don't.
Well, we get frustrated, and I know I do, two-factor authentication where you have to, change your password every 90 days. I mean, it can be aggravating, but it's important for us to be vigilant about those things, right?
Yeah, I guess I look at it, when you're in a hurry and you hit a stoplight, you're annoyed because now you have to stop at that stoplight. But the city didn't put the stoplight there just to annoy you. The point is to let everyone have a chance to safely get to where they're going. And so I see MFA as that, or admin by request. It's not something we've implemented to slow you down.
Yeah.
It's to try to protect the assets for the university, the students, faculty, and staff, because the bad guys have a lot more free time than we do. So.
And they never stop.
And they never stop.
Let's talk through some things. What are some practical things that folks on campus, anybody really that's watching or listening right now, can do to protect their data and protect their information?
Sure. First thing, if I could talk to every person, different passwords for every website you have.
Well, don't use the same password for everything.
Don't use the same password for everything.
Yeah.
LinkedIn, which is a very popular site, turns out they were storing passwords in clear text in 2017. And if you were using that same password with that same email, then they didn't even have to try to break your password. It was provided for them. So always use a different password for every site. Maybe there's some throwaway sites that you don't care, that you can't lose any money on, but I would say in general, use a different password for every website. And along with that, I'd say get a password manager.
Yeah, that's a real tool you can use, right?
Exactly, and they come. I would say that what comes with your browser, whether you're using Chrome or Firefox, they're not perfect. But I would always suggest that if that's the easiest thing for you to use, use that, because it's still more secure than using the same password, at every site, or storing them on Post-it notes or something like that. So, unique password for every site and a password manager out of the gate.
And be careful before you click.
Yes. Like I mentioned, you shouldn't speak when you're angry, and you shouldn't necessarily click a link in an email when you're feeling stressed or you're in a hurry, because the threat actors, they're using that urgency against you. Anytime you get an email that says urgent or, immediate attention, or it doesn't even have to be email. Just this, last few weeks, I've been getting phone calls, supposedly from the IRS, that they're going to send deputies and arrest me if I don't get $500 worth of Apple, gift cards. Because evidently the IRS, big Apple fans, I guess.
I guess.
And the thing is, that's not so much geared towards students or young folks, but you have elderly folks, and that's the kind of thing that's going to just, if they're old enough, they're going to panic and think this is legitimate.
And the other thing is enable multi-factor authentication, which is another step, but it does make a difference.
Yes, but there are two that you can use that are prevalent and free. Microsoft has their own MFA, multi-factor authentication app, and Google. And we're a Microsoft campus, so we use the Microsoft tool. But if you use that, it doesn't have to just be for your SEMO, devices or accounts. You can use that for if you have Gmail. You can set up MFA on your Gmail using the Microsoft, even though it's different. Or if you have Discover card or whatever your credit card is, you can use that free tool to set up MFA.
Being vigilant is the key.
Always.
Thank you, Bill. It's good to talk with you.
Thank you.
All right, Focus on Southeast is a collaboration of KRCU Public Radio and the Department of Mass Media here at Southeast Missouri State University. And just a reminder that portions of these conversations will be broadcast on KRCU Public Radio and will be available online at krcu.org and on the station's YouTube channel. From the Russ Center for Media, I'm Dan Woods. Thanks so much for watching. Be sure to tune in next time when we Focus on Southeast.